I'm Mike Sullivan. Ball position. Where should your ball be between your feet? Let's talk about where it should be and what will happen if your ball position is incorrect. Okay, ball position. Why is this so important and how do you know where it should be? So first off on ball position, I just want to get one thing out of the way real quick. This happens a lot. A lot of people feel, because they've kind of heard the sort of the right things about your ball position relative to front of the stance or back of the stance. What we want to have happen is we want with our short clubs to have the ball be about in the middle of our stance. All right. Now, I've got this alignment stick I'm going to use just in case that camera angle is deceiving, so you can see where that ball is. All right. So I want to play with my club face in the center of my stance on my shortest club, say sand wedge, lob wedge, something like this. This happens to be a pitching wedge. Okay. Now, we can adjust this around a little bit based on fine tuning. As the clubs get longer, we're going to move the ball more forward in our stance, meaning I'm going to, in addition to moving the ball forward, we're going to have a wider stance. So as the clubs get longer, I'm going to step back a little bit, and I'm going to move my trail foot a little bit away from the target, make my stance a little wider, feeling like I'm really just using this foot right here. As the clubs get longer and longer, I'm going to end up with the ball way, way up here, just by kind of moving this foot farther back. All right, so that's one good way you can look at it. Back to the little myth thing. When it's explained to people that the short clubs, you want the ball in the middle of your stance, and as the clubs get longer, the ball moves more forward. What they hear that as is when I have a short club, I want the ball on my back foot. When I have a long club, I want the ball on my front foot. That is not correct. Okay, so boy, it happens a lot. I have somebody take a lesson. They start with a short iron. The ball is way, way back here. And I like to kind of see what they're going to do usually. And as the clubs get longer, they end up moving the ball position forward. So they don't play every shot too far back, just the shorter clubs. All right? So why is it that you could end up having the ball too far back in your stance or too far forward in your stance? I tend to see with most of the people that I work with, the ball tends to be too far back in their stance, too much this way. And what happens, I think, is one, there's the conceptual problem we talked about a second ago. But also, if you make a swing where you don't really move weight into your front side very well, your club's going to bottom out more towards your back foot, and you might make better contact, or you'll probably make better contact with the ball a little bit more back in your stance. The reason we don't like that solution is because you're basically incentivizing a swing where you don't move into your front side. So that's why I really don't want people having the ball literally back of center in their stance or just too far back for their club. Okay. The other thing that can happen with that ball position is really related is they may not even realize they're doing it, but they've just found through trial and error, and they have made adjustments that they hit the ball better when it's back in their stance. And it's, again, usually because they don't get into their front foot enough on their downswing. Okay, so right now I'm going to set up here. I'm going to get this alignment stick dead center, and the ball just a little bit forward of that. Okay. Now, I had a lesson with a guy yesterday, good player. His ball happened to be a little bit too far back in his stance. Okay? So I'm going to see if I can hit a shot similar to what he was doing. This is a pitching wedge. All right? Let's see if I can hit his shot here. All right, so that's not exactly the shot that he hit. We clicked out because we had trouble with the GS Pro. But it was a good shot, though. So if you take a look at our numbers up on the screen, okay, he was swinging the club much more in to out. So you can see on this one, my club path was 2.9 degrees in to out. And you see my angle of attack was down 6.7. What he was doing was he was hitting down even more than that, and his club path was more in to out. So he was really thinking that his trouble, he knew that he was pushing some shots and hooking some shots. He really thought that he had a problem with swinging the club too much out to the right, when in fact his problem was he was actually just hitting down on the ball too much. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we can pretend this is like our swing, right? So if this is my target line right here, he thought that he was just swinging out that way too much. But what was actually happening was, and you can see, like, if you were to hit the ball on the way down in this swing plane, like that, see how the club is moving in to out? So it's moving, if the target's over here, that club is moving out to the right quite a bit. So if you hit down on the ball a lot, your path is going to be off to the right of your swing plane or of the direction you're swinging. So his problem was not that he was swinging too much in to out. His problem was he was hitting down on the ball too much. And then we just talked about ball position, and you know, fortunately his ball was way back. It was too far back on every single shot that he hit. So we just got his ball position moved forward a little bit, right? So we had his ball position so that, like with his pitching wedge, for example, it was ever so slightly forward of center. Now you may think, why would I want it forward of center? Well, you want it forward of center because when you move into your front side, you know, you move forward a little bit, and the club should bottom out after it gets to the ball, even with your shortest clubs. And immediately, one, his angle of attack, because the ball was not as far back, he didn't hit down as much, and his path was a lot less to the right. So something that he thought was a real problem with his swing was simply just that his ball was a little bit too far back in his stance. All right? And of course, if somebody plays the ball way forward in their stance, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to swing the club where they don't hit down on the ball very much at all, and you may see their path is a little bit more out to in. Okay? By the way, with your driver, you know, if you hit a shot with your wedge, you hit down on the ball a little bit, get a little in to out path, the exact same swing but catching the ball on the way up, right? That driver head could be going left, and you could have an out to in swing. So, you know, these are really important things to know, and you can play around a little bit with alignment, play around a little bit with ball position, play around a little bit with expectation. I forgot to mention this golfer. When he hit driver, he hit a cut, right? And I said to him, well, it's very well because with your driver, you're catching the ball on the way up and you have an out to in path, even with the same exact swing plane. All right? So ball position again, the short and easy rule is start with the ball roughly the center of the stance, a little forward to center with your shorter irons. As the clubs get longer, widen your stance, move the ball forward. All right? And especially if you're hooking shots or pushing shots, check to see if that ball position is too far back in your stance. I hope that helps. I'll see you next time.